Action. Welcome back to Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles. I am dude number one, and my name is Gleb. You can follow me on Instagram at gleblapham. At gleblapham.
Got your own website.
I do have my own website.
I am dude number two, and I am cold.
He's also
it's
Mitch.
Mitch. It's Mitch. Yeah.
And you can follow him on Instagram at
Meech to the Beach.
And you can follow the podcast on Instagram at tdtmotorcycles. You can also send us your emails at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. And we always love hearing from you guys. We heard from, was it Dave?
Last
recently.
time.
And he was telling us
episode
about his CF Moto and what he enjoys about it, and a couple of quirks that he wasn't quite the biggest fan of, but we always love hearing from you guys. Thanks, Dave, for writing to us and keeping us up to date on your riding adventures.
Staying engaged. We love it, man.
Yeah. So
it's awesome.
If you want to talk to us about your bike or let us know where your rides are taking you, feel free to email us. And today, what are we talking about today, Mitch?
Well,
there's no clues.
No, I mean, it's
anywhere.
something that we actually have really never talked about on this show yet.
Yeah,
so,
it's our least favorite brand of motorcycle.
I didn't even know it was a brand.
Yeah, we never ever mention them on this podcast.
We're talking about, of course, Triumph today.
Mm-hmm.
Exclusively Triumph, actually.
Pretty much. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see our Triumph shirts. If you're listening to this, we are wearing Triumph shirts. They are not matching.
Yeah. No, we have that going.
Before we today, our main topic is going to cover the history of Triumph, which is something that we've been kind of like wanting to do, like history of different brands for a while. Mm-hmm. So we figured we'd start with the brand that we both ride, and that is Triumph, and then move on from there, see how we do with the rest of like other brands in the future. But before we jump into our main topic, we have some news.
Mm-hmm. And I think this news is appropriate for our topic today because where we're talking about Triumph history, this is also a historic day for Triumph. Well, not a week, I guess. It came out a few days ago. Yeah. An historic move for Triumph is they have now released their first dirt bike, the what was the name? TF250X. This is brand new to motocross. It is focused on performance in every way. Yeah. They really went out for this. It's a lightweight on its own unique frame.
Yeah, the frame was really interesting. It has a really interesting look to it as well.
Yeah, it's like a double cradle almost. Yeah, I guess. So, but spec wise, it's a single cylinder 4-stroke. We'll see where. Yeah, 250, 249, 95cc. It is. It looks really cool, really. That's like all I really have to say for it.
5-speed transmission.
Mm-hmm. The aluminum spine and the frame, everything.
Yeah, for those that are listening, the frame kind of like goes around the engine almost. Mm-hmm. Just looking at the pictures, it's kind of a really interesting design.
We can probably throw a picture of it in post.
Yeah, it's got Brembo brakes up front and in the back. It's got who's the suspension by? KYB.
Yeah, KYB.
I don't know anything about them, but I'm assuming they're.
Like I said, they're meant for. Winning. They want this to be a winner.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I also thought, I remember reading through the specs. I did see that it actually has like a couple of like riding mode selections as well, which is for dirt
on
bikes.
A motocross.
Yeah.
That I didn't see.
I'm trying to see where I remember seeing that.
You sure? But
I'm 95% sure.
Riding modes remain unconfirmed for us, but while he's looking for that, though, I mean, this bike is like it's starting at just under 10K.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know anything about motocross. I don't know if that's expensive for an off-road bike, but again, this is going to be one of your performance motocross bikes. So, yeah, they're looking like
comes with a Krapovic silencer as well.
Oh yeah,
like
get those Apro.
I think it's a titanium. Hi all, editor Gleb here. Just a couple of corrections that I noticed while I was editing this episode. The Bluetooth module, the Krapovic titanium exhaust, and the selectable launch control that we talk about on this. Those are accessories that you can get for the bike. They are not standard. Kind of realized this little error while I was editing, so just wanted to address it and correct it so we have the accurate information. Thank you, and back to Mitch and Gleb. built or titanium coated.
Oh, is this what it is? They have a tune app.
Yeah, I think that's what I was talking about. So it basically lets you like fine tune the engine on its own and stuff through the app. I think this is what I was saying. 2 rider selectable options are standard. So there's a button you can kind of pick between the two different
That's
things.
interesting that it's app controlled.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of cool that it has at least like opens it up for people to kind of do it themselves instead of like.
I wonder how it connects to the app. Like
probably Bluetooth.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm trying to see where I saw that whole.
But again, what you're looking at here, guys, is you're looking at Brembo brakes on this thing. It's a super tall, and a nice off-road suspension on there. So, yeah, congrats, Triumph. I think this has been a long time coming.
Yeah,
since they announced that they were getting into this.
I'm very excited to see how it's going to perform and how it's going to compare to like KTM or Husqvarna or like the Japanese manufacturers, because those have been kind of, especially like KTM and Husky, they've been around, they've been in the motocross game for a very long time, and they are super like far into it basically.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, but I've always just kind of assumed that like KTM and Huskies were like they're performance motocross bikes. Like 100%. They're not your little take them out, beat them up bike.
No,
like they're.
Like they can ride and they can ride hard and take a beating, which is.
And one thing I'd heard with that too, with those ones, because they're such high performers, is like you will tend to need like more maintenance on them because they're running so hard. It's like, it's like what a lot of the Ducati bikes are, amazing performance machines, but to keep that performance, there is like there's more maintenance required.
So I think this is what I was talking. So it does have a rider selectable launch control for perfect power delivery off the line. So I think that's what.
Okay,
I think that's what I was thinking about.
I see.
I remember reading something about it that it has like some kind of slight electronic assist, which I mean, I think you can fully disable them and stuff too. So it's not like, it's not like the electronics are like interfering with the actual riding of the machine, which is what a lot of people will probably be concerned about.
Oh, another thing that Triumph, I don't think Triumph has really ever done. They've done the dry weight for their bikes. They've actually listed the wet weight at 229 pounds.
That's like half of almost. That's like, that's
more than half of my bike.
That's like almost half of my bike. That's crazy.
Yeah,
just like I can't imagine like picking that up. I'm also looking at the
less than half. It's so tiny.
Looking at the tank capacity, 1.85 gallons. Which if you're on the motocross track, like it doesn't matter because you have access to that. But like to me, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm over here like sitting on 5.5 gallons of fuel.
1.85 gallons, 7-liter tank capacity. Which is just so cool.
I'm very excited for this. I'm gonna keep an eye out for maybe in the summer if there's any motocross like events going on here in Utah.
Yeah.
To see maybe if someone actually has one, maybe they end up buying one or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if your sport,
I'll buy it.
It's a business. It's a write-off.
Yeah, it's a write-off. So I think that's really all we had for news on that. I mean, I think again, like for you motocross people, welcome Triumph to the world.
And if you do ride motocross and see the announcement on this bike or know more about it, or just how do you think it will compare to,
or if you got to ride one,
but if you're a big motocross rider, let us know what you think and how you think this will compare to the companies that have been in the motocross game for a long time at this point. So we'd love to hear from you. But for now, I think
we're ready to.
But real quick, I got a new jacket.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I got the Rev It Off Track 2, and I bought it from Revzilla, who are our affiliates. So if you are shopping for new gear, you can help out the podcast by using the link in the description below. And if you use the link, we'll get a little bit of a kickback from whatever you buy, and it helps support the podcast so we can get better equipment and grow it. And it doesn't cost you anything, and it'll give us a little bit of change. So if you're shopping for new gear, feel free to use our link down in the description below.
And in doing that, that's going to help. We eventually want to start having guests and doing interviews on here. So like if we can get a better setup to facilitate that.
And if you're not buying anything and just want to help us out, we do also have, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/tdtmotorcycles, and just throw whatever throw however much money you want.
And shout out to our good friend Dave
Oh yeah, he did send us
not
some. Yeah.
not CF Moto Dave, another Dave.
Yep.
He's our first one to actually give us some money for buy me a coffee.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, shall we jump into
Let's
the
do
main
it.
topic and our
Take it
long
away.
list of stuff that we have? Okay, so I spent a lot of time researching this, so I think I nailed down most of the information correctly. If I get something wrong, though, feel free to call me out in an email. But I think I spent like 3 hours or more doing this, so we'll see. So Triumph was founded in 1902. So it's a well over 100-year-old company. 123 now?
Yeah.
Or no, 121. It's 2023.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, 121-year-old company, which is a really old company. But originally it started out as a bicycle company. So it was founded by Siegfried Bettmann, who was a German, who was started off selling German bicycles in 1886 under S. Bettmann and Co. Import-Export Agency, which is a mouthful. Later, he changed the name to Triumph, and in 1902, the company transitioned to motorcycles, and that is when they released their first bike. I'll say bike because it's basically a motorcycle frame, like on a bike. I have
a motorcycle, like an engine on a bike frame.
Yeah, and that's what I meant. An engine on the bike frame. And there's a picture right there, and it looks almost kind of like one of those mopeds that still have like the little pedals attached to them, but you can have a little motor. Yeah, it was powered by a Minerva engine, which was a Belgian manufacturer, and it had a whopping 2.2 horsepower. So
fast days, man.
Fast AF.
Yeah.
And also had pedals and pretty much a bicycle frame. 1907 is when they kind of started to produce an actual motorcycle, or produced like their first motorcycle. I should have labeled these photos, but here's a picture of it right there. So they opened up a factory on Priory Street in Coverley, and bike production hits 1,000 units in 1907. They came out with a new 450cc engine with 3 horsepower. So moving up from 2.2 all the way to 3. It's crazy to think.
That's an efficient use of 450 cc's to get 3 horsepower.
Exactly.
Out of that, yeah. So,
but what I thought was really cool about, like, while I was just researching all of this information and stuff, is just kind of seeing like how much power has been gained over the past 100 years.
Oh, it's crazy.
I mean, you're going from like a 450cc engine with 3 horsepower to now having like, what's Triumph's smallest bike? Well, minus the new motocross one. It's the Trident with a 600cc.
Well, that's for the U.S. I mean, they have like smaller ones like over in other countries.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure like they have like I don't know if they make 125s, but like they make the 400. Those new 400s. That's what I meant.
Right. The speed 400.
Speed 400, Scrambler 400. Yeah.
Right. I totally forgot. I don't know why I forgot about those.
That's for us. I don't know if they make smaller ones like outside.
I think
the
that's
country.
the smallest one.
Okay.
Yeah. And those are going to be coming to the US as well.
Yeah.
And those have 400 cc's, but they have like 30 something horsepower. So it's like crazy
for how.
Yeah. It's crazy how much. Yeah. And then 1908, Triumph comes out with comes in second at the first ever Isle of Man TT race. They raced on the 450 single cylinder Triumph, but which was ridden by Jack Marshall, and it averaged 40 miles an hour. And this kind of marked the start.
Too fast for me, man.
The start of Triumph's racing heritage. And throughout the episode, I'm going to mention how deeply rooted that racing heritage is in the Triumph brand, because it goes back decades.
Yeah. Well, and with like when it comes to heritage too, like it's not even necessarily they're performance bikes, so, with the racing. So that's a part of the racing is a part of the Triumph heritage as a whole.
Yeah.
But there's more like pronounced history in there too. So I mean, like World War I, Triumph was producing motorcycles for the military. Yeah, and we had the Type H model.
The trusty Triumph, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, the trusty Triumph.
And it's basically known for its reliability.
So obviously, that was made for the British military, and it was also used by Allied forces.
Yep.
And they were pretty much used for reconnaissance, communication, rapid in and out, which is, that's when you start to see that was the war.
Picture of it right there.
that was the war, that like we started to see like mechanized warfare.
That's true. Yeah. So it's kind of cool that, I mean, it makes sense because it seems like it would be a pretty useful tool to quickly get around the battlefield and everything like that. And, I mean, pretty much every major conflict has used a motorcycle. I mean, to this day, they're still used in certain cases. But, in World War II, the Germans, they used their BMWs to get around all the time.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So it goes back to that heritage. Like, it's not just like a company with a history. It's actually a part of that nation's history.
It's pretty much, I mean, it is the quintessential British motorcycle.
Yeah.
It is so ingrained in their history, their culture, and everything like that it's like Jaguar or Land Rover. It's you think Triumph, you think Britain, you think England.
I mean, it's in their little logo too.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
That's
That's
part
a
of the
good point,
Union
yeah.
Jack. So
One of the interesting facts I saw, so during the First World War, Triumph, by 1918, they supplied about 300,000 air-cooled single-cylinder motorcycles to the military, to the Allied forces. The trusty Triumph had a 550cc single-cylinder engine with 4 horsepower. See those numbers climbing?
We're getting there.
Get ready for the modern ones when we get towards the end of the episode. 3-speed gearbox and a Kickstarter. So after the war, do you have anything more to add?
During the war, Triumph came back. They stepped up to bat. They made more motorcycles for the British military, and they were used again like by some allies from there. The one in that one, that was the Triumph 3HW. And this thing was like, again, it was kind of known for being like reliable. It could get in and out, from there. So, again, used for dispatch, reconnaissance, transportation. Let's see here. And so Triumph did play a crucial role in supplying them like with machines, like
Nice.
throughout there. And then we move into post-war. You're getting at with the Speed Twin.
We'll get there. So after the war, so Edward Turner, he becomes Triumph's chief designer, and he's kind of like the grandfather of like more of the Triumphs we know today.
Yeah.
Sort of, because the company kind of went under and then came back. But this was like the guy that invented like the original, like came up with the designs for the original like Trident, the original Bonneville, the original Thunderbird, and a whole whopping of like new engines for Triumphs to use. His name was Edward Turner, and he became Triumph's chief designer. And that happened after the car and the motorcycle businesses were split between the two, because there was a couple of different people, and one wanted to make more cars, the other one motorcycles, so they split the company, which is why if you see a Triumph car, it's not associated with Triumph motorcycles. It's like two different companies, one survived, one didn't. And in 1937, they unveiled the first Speed Twin, which basically cemented Triumph's legacy as the definitive British motorcycle. So it had a very classic motorcycle look that we know today. The round headlight, the spring suspension in the back, the forks in the front, everything like that. So it was a really cool... That's not it.
That's not it.
I should have really labeled these. Which one did you tell me to label these?
Well, there you go, guys. Gleb didn't label. So.
I didn't do my job. Clearly.
Yep.
It's fine.
No, we're okay there. But
yeah. Anyways, so you made the original 1937 Speed Twin. The original Speed Twin was powered by a 498cc engine producing 28 horsepower.
Whoa.
We moved into the double digits there, and was mated to a 4-speed gearbox. It could actually hit a speed of 90 miles an hour, which...
Wow, it could compete with the Geo Metro. Remember those?
Yeah, I do remember those. The twin-cylinder engine allowed the bike to be lighter and handle better, while also having more power compared to the Triumph single-cylinder engines that were previously used. And this was very interesting to me because now majority, like half the Triumph bikes, they use a parallel twin. They use a parallel twin engine. Yours has a parallel twin. The entire Bonneville line has a parallel twin. No, that's a triple.
Yeah. Now it's a triple.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we never found out if the original is triple or not.
Maybe it's in the notes that I don't remember. But yeah, so the parallel twin has been Triumph's staple for essentially its entire history. Like it went through revisions, it came back
since they made a parallel engine.
So that was like the first parallel twin bike that Triumph made. It was the Speed Twin, and the Speed Twin moniker is still around, which is awesome. So then we move into 1940s. So this is the.
I was just going to throw in there too. Like, during like the post-war time, that's when the Speed Twin became really popular, and then that's when we also saw like the increased popularity, like with the Thunderbird.
Yeah, and
holy cow, what a bike!
Getting that into in a second here, but yeah, so 1942, Triumph, they opened up a new factory in Meriden, and supplied more than 50,000 motorcycles to the military during the war, during World War II. The original factory was actually destroyed during the Blitz. So a new one was rebuilt. In 1946, they focused on 3 different models. That was the Tiger 100, Speed Twin, and the 3T, which, yeah, I mean, I really should have.
That probably wasn't it.
No.
But, yeah.
Oh, there's the Tiger, the original Tiger right there. They started producing those bikes, and the Tiger 100, they used a 4-stroke parallel twin, 498cc size with 32 horsepower, and once again was made it to a 4-speed gearbox and a chain drive. Included telescopic forks up front, but the back seat was very uncomfortable because it was basically like a seat with springs under it.
It's a hardtail.
It was very much a hardtail bike.
Yeah,
and from what I heard, like people did not care to sit on it, but people still really like the bike.
Yeah.
The 3T was basically made as a slightly cheaper model to complement the Speed Twin. So it was a little bit lower cost, more efficient.
Like
more
that
fuel
era's
efficient.
Street Twin.
Yeah, sort of, pretty much. And then they released in 1950 the Thunderbird 6T, which they heavily pretty much was very like popular like in America as well. Like it was kind of targeted kind of like this more cruiser type motorcycle style.
Well, and those were the bikes sweeping America like for popularity.
Yeah. So this similar kind of bike that Harley makes.
Yeah.
Like the cruiser types bikes. And this was a little fun fact that I learned while I was researching this. So Triumph later actually licensed the Thunderbird name to Ford and for when they made the Ford Thunderbird car. Little convertible. So that was pretty interesting.
The name reminds me of like the bit in Futurama when Amy's buying a car. And it's like, what you need is a Cougar Falcon Thunderbird.
I think I remember that, yeah. The Thunderbird was heavily targeted towards the American market and was made famous by Marlon Brando in the movie The Wild One, which I think we talked about in our movie episode.
Yep.
Even though the U.S. Importers, but that's despite the fact that U.S. importers did not like the image being used, or the image of the motorcycle being used as like in the movie was like street gangs and things like that. But it was Marlowe's own bike, so he basically used his own bike in the movie. It just happened to be have been like a Triumph Thunderbird.
In that episode too, like a Triumph has now been like that's like a part of our image.
Oh yeah, and they mention like on their history timeline. By the way, most of the information that I got for my notes and stuff was off Triumph's website, off motorcycle.com. They had like a huge thing on Triumph history. And then also there was one other site, and it was
something or other.
runmotorrun.com, who had a very nice breakdown of Triumph's history.
Oh,
and also cool. I use motorcyclespecs.co.za for some specs on older motorcycles. So all those websites were super helpful. So whoever put those together, some awesome information on there.
So do you have anything else about this era, 1940 to 50?
Nope, that was it.
Okay.
So we can move on to
the 60s.
Actually, I have the late 50s.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of went through. So in 1952, Triumph.
Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted to get at.
The imports? Or?
Well, just like this time frame, like leading into the 60s.
Oh,
like late,
Go ahead.
Getting into the late 50s, entering the 60s. This was around the time that the term the British invasion of motorcycles was being used in America.
Okay.
Because then we come into arguably the most iconic Triumph bike, just known everywhere, right? And that is the Bonneville T120.
Bonneville T120.
And holy cow.
Named after the Bonneville Salt Flats here in Utah.
For their land racing.
For the land racing.
Record-setting land.
Yep. And before that, So in 1952, Triumph started importing their motorcycles into US, and in 1955, Triumph's Thunderbird's the Thunderbird 650cc motor was used in a custom-built motorcycle, basically to set a land speed record. It's called the Devil's Arrow, and it hit 193 miles an hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats.
I can't imagine.
And it was powered by the Thunderbird engine. And then after that, Triumph launched the TR6 Trophy with a 650cc engine, proving to be a very capable long-distance bike on and off-road. So not really an adventure bike, but
Yeah.
it's way out there. And then
yeah.
1959 rolls along, where they released their most famous model.
Yeah. And this bike, again, like it actually, it really is like it's a symbol in like the British or classic style bike. Like if you honestly, if you think of a classic motorcycle, you're gonna like what's gonna come to mind is probably gonna be
It's gonna be the Bonneville.
Even if people probably don't know motorcycles, that's probably what they're imagining.
Yep, exactly.
You know?
The round headlights, the teardrop gas tank, the spoked wheels, front and back, the engine in the middle. Every time I picture a motorcycle, I mean, before I started riding or getting into motorcycles, this is exactly what I imagine a motorcycle looking like. It looks like your ideal motorcycle.
Yeah, and even in the U.S. as well. That's when we like the British culture for motorcycling was like it really made a mark in American motorcycling culture.
Coming in here.
Yeah, just like the styling and like with like the Marlon Brando movies and everything. That's you got like other films. With those old ones, you know.
And the original T120, the T120 moniker is even still around.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bonneville T120 is one of the modern classic bikes you can get. The original, however, had a 650cc parallel twin that produced 46 horsepower, 4-speed transmission, and it basically replaced the Triumph Tiger 110 as the head of Triumph's like range. This is their flagship model. This was like the top of the line bike.
Yeah.
It had 2 carburetors, which helped achieve its power output. And basically that's, even in my notes, like we love how the Bonnevilles look. We're pretty biased on that here on the show. And it's a beautiful, beautiful looking bike with the most iconic styling probably. And I really love that even their modern bikes still have that same old school styling while also incorporating like, modern features and things like that.
No, for sure. So that was the year of Triumph.
And moving into the 1960s. So I labeled this slide as this is the decade of Triumphs.
The 60s.
Triumphs for Triumph. So a lot of things happened in this decade. And this decade is kind of when Triumph really cemented itself as like, a premier motorcycle brand and company, and part of that was made very famous by Steve McQueen and Bella Elkins in the film The Great Escape, where
we mentioned that one too.
We mentioned that before. Episode. And they rode on the Triumph TR6, and they did The Great Escape. They crashed one of them, everything else. Followed by in 1966, Buddy Elmore, he won the Daytona 200, riding a 500cc Tiger, and
the Streamliner.
And Guy Renault X Streamliner set another world record at the Bonneville Salt Flats, hitting a whopping 245 miles an hour, and it used 2 Triumph 650cc engines.
Now, were those parallel twin, those Bonnie engines, or
they were the TR6 engines? So they were like,
I don't know if those are.
Oh,
we're getting a little confused here. That's
we'll go back.
That's how we do.
Maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was. So the OG had 650cc. Yeah. So 2 Triumph 650cc engines, and then Triumph further showed off its racing prowess with a victory by Gary Nixon at the 1967 Daytona 200. And he was riding a Tiger 100.
Damn.
And then that same year, John Hartle won the Isle of Man production TT. That's when they kind of ride like the production motorcycles, ones that are available for the public, on the Bonneville T120.
T120, baby.
T120, like all those things happened in 1966. And 1967. Once again, in 1967, they were further made famous by Evel Knievel's jump over the fountain at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas on his Bonneville T120 TT Special, which was a special model released like as a special edition, like in reference to the Isle of Man, like production TT. And that was one of the most sought after motorcycles of the time period. It became extremely popular because of the wins at the races and then by the jump by Evel Knievel. And I think, that's why we think motorcycles are so cool, because people do stuff like that on them. And then
Not us, but some,
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything like that, but
No, I'm not going to jump over Caesar's Palace.
Hell no.
No, they got that track all over Vegas now. I don't know where you can drive.
Right. Jeez.
And that in that same year in the 1960s, I think it's 1967 still, Triumph also released their first 3-cylinder motorcycle engine, and that was on the Trident. And
hello, triples. He'll find it there.
there we go.
There, yep.
The Triumph, the triple. So it is a triple. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yep. So the Triumph, their first triple motorcycle, and they pretty much are a staple of the Triumph brand as well, along with their Bonneville parallel twin engines. And then finally in 1969, Malcolm Uphill wins the production TT again. Well, Triumph once again won the production TT, and this was done by Malcolm Uphill, and that was the first ever time there was a lap that involved a lap hitting over 100 miles an hour. Jeez. And that was once again done on a Bonneville,
of course,
a Bonneville bike. So 1960s were a phenomenal decade for...
What could go wrong? They're on top of the world now, right? Nothing bad could happen.
No, nothing could happen.
Right? So,
which, let's get into the 1970s.
So 1970s. I don't know if you want to mention any more the good stuff.
Let's mention the good
not
stuff.
That there's bad stuff.
Yeah, let's start off with a positive first. Yeah. So Uphill in 1970 once again won the production TT. This is so much of Triumph's history. While I was researching this,
they're winners.
It just deals with winning races and stuff. And I'm pretty sure a lot of manufacturers mention their victories.
Oh yeah, of course,
because that's the thing. But we love the brand. We love Triumph, and it's kind of cool just reading about it. All of these
win in style
wins they had on so many different races and levels of racing and stuff. So he won on a production TT, this time on the 3-cylinder Trident, and then on the 3-cylinder Trident. And then the same year, Triumph also introduced a T120 with oil and frame, which I didn't even know was even a thing. But the oil, instead of using its own reservoir, was housed in one of the tubes in the frame.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's supposed to cut down on weight. Didn't really turn out to an idea that didn't really take off.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting. I don't know. It was just
it was an idea
that I learned. Yeah,
it was an idea.
And then in 19
you're gonna do. Oh, okay, yeah, you go ahead with that one.
Yeah.
So
and then in 1975, the production of the Trident came to an end, despite the victories at the production TT, and also the Meridian factory that they had formed, or the Meriden, I spelled it wrong, formed a cooperative with the workers there and stuff to continue working. And then
tragedy.
So
what we're looking at here during this time frame, it was 1977. 1977. We're in the 70s still.
We'll jump ahead there.
Triumph starts to face some complications and challenges due to the increased competition from Japanese branded motorcycles. So we're looking at cheaper bikes.
Yeah.
And then probably what was included with that oil and frame, Triumph started to have quality issues. They really did. They just really something was going on. They couldn't keep up with the market preferences. And then honestly, I mean, that's great. And as much as we love Triumphs, and they are reliable bikes now, but at the same time, what's synonymous with Japanese motorcycles
is
reliability
and
cheap.
Yeah. Low cost. And that was a big thing here in the U.S. too. I mean, Honda started encroaching deeply into the U.S. market and stuff. And Harley was feeling pretty threatened by that because Honda was coming out with cheap, lightweight, easy to ride motorcycles.
Fast bikes too.
So it was a very big
there was a shift.
turmoil pretty much in a lot of other manufacturers because of those Japanese bikes.
Yeah. So as a and also they're running into emissions and safety regulations in the U.S. and I'm guessing other countries.
So
and I was just going to say that doing all this, it led to Triumph's bankruptcy, and the Triumph actually withdrew from the U.S. market for a time.
Yeah. And basically like they still had like some minuscule amount of revenue, so they continued to try and do some kind of development. The factory was eventually bought out by British developer John Bloor.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say that it was 1983 was when they went into bankruptcy receivership.
Okay. Yeah. So in 1983, yeah, like Mitch said, 1983. The factory was bought out by John Bloor, who was a developer, and he licensed out the name Triumph to a small shop who basically just sat around assembling a couple of Bonnevilles per year, like by hand, and just selling them as like this kind of probably exclusive bike.
Yep.
But then in 1985, Bloor acquired another site in Hinckley, and that became where their factory is now. And he equipped it with new prototyping tools. He equipped it with a new what's the production line and everything like that. And in 1987, Triumph finally unveiled their first like new engine of this new Triumph company. And this is the Triumph that we know today.
It's Triumph reborn out of the ashes.
Yep. Basically. And this is the Triumph that we have now. So it's the original, like sort of original company. Like the original company sort of like disappeared.
Yeah.
Brought back by John Bloor, whose son still remains as the chief executive of the company to this day. But Bloor also staked $60 million of his own dollars to new mass production tools at the Hinckley plant, which
I really wonder. I didn't really look into this John Bloor himself, but I wonder like, if he was like an enthusiast of motorcycles or if he was purely a businessman.
I'm not sure. I should have.
I didn't think about it until just now. But I mean, either way, for the Triumph we have today, we have John Bloor to thank for
pretty much
pulling Triumph out of the dark ages.
Yeah.
That they faced.
So then. This is basically the 1990s is basically the return of Triumph. They in 1990s came out with a bang, and at the Cologne show they unveiled 6 new motorcycles.
Massive. So
the Trident 750cc and the 900cc triples, the Touring Trophy 900cc triple, and the 1200cc 4, plus the Sporty Daytona 750cc triple and the 1000cc 4.
My back and shoulders can't really handle like a sport bike, but I would love the Daytona.
The Daytona, the OG 1990s Daytona right there. And I think it's a pretty awesome looking bike. I really like the color scheme there. It just looks. I like
the little
cool.
windscreen they got on it.
Yeah, it looks almost like a sports tour, more than like a sports bike, which I think that was kind of like
like a lot of 90s sport bikes did look like that.
It kind of did, but it was. There we go. But that was Triumph's revival. So 1990 is when they released all of these big models, and basically brought the brand back to life. In 1994, the Speed Triple was first introduced, along with it, Triumph's racing heritage was revived. The Speed Triple was powered by an 885cc triple, which produced 98 horsepower. So I think it's kind of cool.
It's a bit spicy.
Yeah, I think it's really cool seeing just like the rise in power, like in the last 100 years, not just in motorcycles, but like in everything, like cars, planes, like everything.
What I love with our topic on Triumph too is like we're seeing throughout history when they start, we're seeing a steady increase in power, and then the bad times came, and then when it comes back, it's no longer a steady like incline, it's just.
Yep,
straight up.
In 1994, Triumph also joined the adventure motorcycle market with the Triumph 900, with the Tiger 900, which was the OG Tiger. It had double big headlights. It actually looks more like a dual sport than a big adventure bike that we know now. Actually, I had a bigger, larger gas tank than my current bike, which is kind of interesting.
Wild.
And pretty much the same amount of power, but no efficiency whatsoever.
No.
Another big thing that happened in 1994 is that Triumph Motorcycles of America was formed as basically a subsidiary of Triumph, and to operate here in the States. And in 1996, Triumph released the Daytona T595, which proved50,000 50,000th Triumph to be built
produced
at the Hinckley plant after the revival of Triumph.
No, yeah, it's just awesome. Do you have anything more with the 90s?
Nope. Well, I think I have. Nope. It's just straight 2000s after.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Let's do it.
If you want to hit the 2000, and I can go in 2001. I have a 2001 note for us.
Oh, I got these are all the 2000s. So hit me
okay.
with the. Actually, I'll say 2000. So in the year 2000, Bonneville returned the Bonneville
line.
Yeah, the Triumph Bonneville returns a decade after Triumph's rebirth, basically bringing back the classic motorcycle look with it, and that's kind of like when their sort of more modern classic line basically restarted.
Yeah, and so in my notes, what I was able to find from the revival, like with 2001, my notes say that's when the Bonneville was brought back. Was 2001.
Oh.
So 1 year discrepancy.
Okay.
Yeah. But what I was going to get at was that's when we started to see the Bonneville T100, and then we also see the Thruxton. So was around this time.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes back to it's just sad to see the Thruxton go.
That is true. Yeah, I remember reading about that. I was just like, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I kind of want that final edition.
That would be sick. That is a beautiful looking bike. And do you have any more for 2001?
That was really all I have on it from there.
I have 2002.
Okay.
Which another tragedy. Wow. My English is not very good today, apparently. Has basically at that point, Triumph has been around that was their 100-year anniversary. However, it was not met with the greatest of celebrations because they actually had a huge fire at their Hinckley Factory 1 assembly plant. And basically the whole inside burnt down. The building itself stayed put, but a lot of the inside burned down. However, gutted. The research and development side of the shop still remained functional. So they were able to develop new motorcycles. They just weren't really able to build them. However, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise because after the fire, thanks to insurance, proper insurance and things like that, they were able to re-equip their factory with even more modern manufacturing equipment to produce, bikes faster, better, etc. Have a better, more streamlined manufacturing process. The same year, Triumph also opened their first factory in Thailand, which was their factory number 3, and also released the Daytona 600, a 4-cylinder bike that goes on to be an incredibly popular machine thanks to its, and it had just a really good balance of power and performance.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's just awesome.
It's a pretty cool looking bike. And then in 2003, Bruce Anstey, he wins the Junior 600 at the Daytona 600, giving Triumph basically their first win in 27 years.
Big moment.
A big moment, and that's kind of Triumph's racing heritage is slowly starting to come back.
Yeah.
Do you have any more for 2000s?
That was really all I had for the 2000s. Okay. I just have some more general.
I have some more in that case.
Yeah.
I got some more. In 2004, Triumph released the first Triumph Rocket 3, which was the first motorcycle to have a 2000cc displacement engine, which it's still, I mean, even the new Rocket still remains the largest production motorcycle with the largest cc or the largest displacement engine.
Mm-hmm. And we rode one,
and it was a phenomenal bike to ride. Then 2006, Triumph releases the 675cc Daytona with the triple engine, which set out to win multiple Super Sport awards, including the International Bike of the Year here in the U.S. Then it kind of just flows on from there. They released the Speed Triple, which kind of provided this styling and the fun dynamics of the Speed Triple, however, with the performance and the handling of the Daytona 675 because they share the engine. 2008, Glenn Richards rides the Daytona 675 in the British Supersport Championship to victory, giving Triumph its first win, basically, at the British Championship of Hinckley, basically from the new factory and stuff.
Yeah.
And in 2009, Triumph releases its first R-Spec of the Street Triple R, featuring better braking, better suspension, and things like that for a more lively bike.
I want that yellow RS.
Oh, that thing is absolutely beautiful.
All right.
And
oh man.
finally, we're moving into the Triumph now, basically the modern day Triumph.
Oh, I just remembered something too. So I know like in the early 2000s, late 90s, like Triumphs kind of had like a bad rap for like leaking. And but again, like with Triumph being in this development and revival stage, like that has been fixed. So there was some growing pains still going on.
Oh yeah,
from there.
that makes sense.
But yeah, like moving on into like the later 2000s into current, like they were adjusted and fixed with they're sweet.
Basically like 2010 and up is the Triumph we know now. They produce, they went anything. So in 2010, Triumph produces its first belt-driven motorcycle, which is the Thunderbird 1600cc, which is an absolutely beautiful looking bike. When I saw this picture, this was on Triumph's website, I was like, I want to buy that.
Yeah.
I want to buy that bike because it's absolutely gorgeous.
What I love about
it's such a smooth looking line throughout the entire thing.
What I really love about it is just like the wide exhaust pipe sticking out.
Yeah.
Like, it
looks absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And some of the fun, so this actually, Cycle World gave this bike the Cruiser of the Year award when it came out. And I did list some of the specs for it. So it produced 85 horsepower and 108 pound-feet of torque at 2,750 RPM. Very, very low-end torque. And it had a 6-speed gearbox with a very, very tall 6th gear to kind of just keep cruising at like
I think we need to find one speeds. To ride.
If you live in Utah and you have one of these, please let us ride
We'll come to you.
Yeah, we'll come to you. We'll ride our bikes to you. Don't bring it to us. And then also in 2010, Triumph celebrates its 110-year anniversary, and its annual sales reach 50,000 bikes worldwide, which is awesome.
Man.
And then, do you have any?
No, I just have like some like wrap up notes.
Okay.
Yeah, for the modern times and what we're looking at now.
I'll just quickly bounce through the timeline. In 2014, Triumph once again wins the Isle of Man Supersport TT, and it was written by Gary Johnson is the one that led them to victory, and Billy McConnell takes the British Supersport Championship. Both were riding on the Daytona 675R, and in the States, Danny Eslick wins the Daytona 200 on the same bike, giving Triumph its first win at the Daytona 200 in 47 years.
Yeah.
So that only happened in 2014, which is just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is not that long ago.
It's really not. So I mean, like we are like in like a new, like a second golden age for Triumph. Like they're just doing.
I think so. They're just doing. They're so good. They're coming out with some incredible bikes, some beautiful looking bikes.
They're just killing it.
Yeah, and now they have like the new speed triples and things like that. Like,
well, and in terms of winning, we're seeing that with their drive for that with the new motocross bike, the TF250X.
Exactly. They keep expanding their market, expanding their customer base. And I'm really excited to see what else they come out with in the future.
Yeah.
In 2015, you'll like this. They released their new Bonneville family of bikes. So the T120, the Street Twin, the 1200cc Thruxton, and the Thruxton R. So they launched all of those in 2015, and then further they started adding. In between 2015 and so on, they added more and more bikes to the line, including the Bobber, the Speedmaster, your Scrambler 1200. And just kind of kept going from there. And then the last bit is in 2019, Triumph returned to basically the top tier racing by becoming the official engine supplier to the FIM Moto2 World Championship with the Street Triple 765cc setting 16 lap records, a first ever 185 mile top speed, and Alex Marquez rode the triple to a first basically like Triumph propelled win. So using their line of engines in the Moto2 World Championship.
They're top tier.
They are top tier. I do have a couple of fun little facts to wrap up. There's only two of them. So the T in the Triumph logo actually does not stand for Triumph. For the T in Triumph is actually made to model to resemble a piston in the cylinder head of the engine.
Yeah.
So cylinder head, piston. And this is more of a tidbit for me. Ted Simon rode was the first man to circle the world on a Triumph motorcycle on a 500cc Triumph Tiger in 1973. I found out this after I made my timeline, so
Yeah.
this is why it's at the end of
Yeah.
in the fun facts section.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so that's yeah, you pretty much went over everything I had for like my little wrap up notes for it. But yeah, we're just seeing that Triumph they have a pronounced history. They have they've left they're a keystone in motorcycle
Oh yeah,
history, culture, heritage, and then styling.
yeah,
Like the Bonneville, it's like what we said before. Those bikes, they have like that quintessential classic, timeless look. And we see that like with the Kawasaki Z900 or whatever.
Yeah.
And we see that with like
cafe racer look.
Yeah.
And speaking of cafe racing, they were the ones that you said that you went to the Ace Cafe.
I did
in London.
I did when I was in London.
That's basically where the cafe racing scene like came from, and those were all Triumphs, right?
They did have a Royal Enfield there, and
Okay.
then they had
But is
something.
that where they started by Triumph bike? Not the Ace Cafe, but like cafe racing itself. That whole like.
I don't know if that was Triumph actually. Should have
Okay.
looked into that. But I mean,
Where the
it
people use
did.
Triumph bikes to like.
I would
they're
assume
the ones that customize
just for the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume. I mean, don't take that as our official statement for
Yeah.
that. But no, the Ace Cafe though. I mean, it's very Triumph heavy.
Yeah.
The Ace Cafe, that's a line of Triumph too. Like, you can get like the Ace stamps and badges.
Yeah.
With the spade or like the club.
Yeah.
The Ace Club. And then and that even that cafe has its own history. Like it was actually damaged in World War II during the bombings.
Yeah.
And it had been rebuilt. One of my notes I had, not notes, just something I'd learned reading up on it. It was one of like the first like cafes to have like a neon.
Lighting?
I'll have to look it up again,
Okay.
but no, it was something to do with like it was a brick building with some neon lighting to it, and then
interesting.
really good fish and chips too. So
I miss those Irish fish and chips.
yeah, but no, it was
But-
just really cool to see like all the
Yeah.
heritage and things that they had going on there.
And I think this is what I really love about Triumph is that they kind of lean into their history and to their heritage, but especially with having like that modern classic line, which I think is not a lot of manufacturers have that many like classic quote unquote looking motorcycles to pick from. Some manufacturers have like a model here and there, like maybe a one-off like the Z900 from Kawasaki or the R9T from BMW.
Yeah.
Maybe the R18 that kind of has like a more classic look. Ducati doesn't really have.
well, no, they got like
the Scrambler.
There's the Scramblers. There's something else. It's there's some older Ducatis that have like a nice timeless classic to them.
Yeah, I meant like more like modern, like currently in production bikes.
Yeah. It would be the Scrambler.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Scrambler, which still looks like fairly modern.
It has
yeah.
it's a modern classic.
Yeah, but it still doesn't have like the spoked wheels, the chrome.
Yeah.
like the air fins. Like the engine doesn't have the air fin. I really love the fact that the Bonneville engines still have the air fins on them, despite being an air cooled or a water cooled, a liquid cooled engine.
Yeah.
They even have that like spot that's kind of, I don't know if there's a good picture that like shows it.
And for
on
those of
here.
you who don't have like a Bonneville type engine with those fins, they are a bitch to clean. It
I
really
believe.
sucks cleaning those.
Don't have problems with my Tiger with that.
Yeah, but you don't have air fins.
No, I don't have air fins. And the fact that they have like right behind the engine, like where the carburetor would normally go, is just like it's still a mechanical piece. Like
Yeah, well, they have
it's a part of the engine, but it's not a carburetor.
Well, the bit on the Bonneville's a bit behind the engine is actually the air intake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
From there, and under your seat is where you'd find like your air filter.
See, it's cool. I really love that they kept like looking at the Bonneville line. They look like they could be a motorcycle from the 1950s or 1970s and stuff like that, but they have all the modern features. They have ABS, they have traction control, they have LED headlights.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just fun to see too. Like, we're seeing Triumph as they make advancements and they keep moving and changing with the market.
Yeah.
But then their Bonneville bikes, it's like a staple to their beginnings.
Yeah.
And like where they come from, but they're still performance bikes.
It's amazing
and,
to see.
like,
And what I thought was kind of cool, like doing the research is like I have the Tiger 900 and I know it's a Tiger 900, but it was kind of cool to see that like the Tiger moniker, the name goes back basically like almost to the beginning of Triumph's history, and they just kind of kept that bike, and it was actually like sort of a pseudo adventure bike at one point where it wasn't like the BMW GS where it's made specifically for that, but it was used for that purpose because it was just it just could go so many places.
Well, and I think like for us too, like just given like where we live in Utah, you know, we're pretty close to the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah, it's kind of iconic.
I don't like Utah, guys. I don't like Utah, but it is really cool that I'm from a state that is like tied to this brand.
I think you need to ride your Bonneville powered engine.
No,
the bike, not on the salt flats, but to the salt flats.
Okay,
park them like right on the edge. Get a cool photo. We can get a cool photo of that.
I'm bringing a gallon of desalinizer.
Like you don't have to cruise on the flats on it. You just have to get on it like right off the parking lot. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just don't go so fast it doesn't flip all that. Because I can't imagine cleaning your engine with that.
I don't want to.
Oh, it would be caked in salt so bad.
Fun fact, everybody. When I was still a new rider and I had just gotten my scrambler, I didn't really. I didn't really know about like the salt on the road being an issue. Like I should have known. I just didn't click in my head.
Just didn't think about it.
And because I didn't ride with my Honda, so I took my brand new to me Triumph Scrambler for a ride, and then like sure enough, there was like some Twitter post or something about salt and bikes and it's gonna rust. I'm like, oh no! I spent hours. Like out in the cold, scrubbing it with water to get it off and making sure and drying it with a hand towel. It's like, no, this bike will not rust right now. So.
No, but I think just for the sake of the history, I think it'd be kind of cool to ride it out.
Yeah, I know it would be pretty cool.
Not on the salt flats, but at least to the salt flats.
Yeah,
like to the parking area that they have there.
Yeah,
just see or rent a pair of Bonnevilles.
There we go.
Like actual Bonnevilles and ride them out there. That would be cool too.
I'd do that.
Anyways, that wraps up all of my little notes.
No, I think that's really all I really had to say as well. Again, like we just really wanted to do this episode because it was, you know, we both like Triumph.
We both love Triumphs, and we thought this would be kind of like a good brand to kind of start off with, and we'll try to do this like every so often.
Yeah,
to kind of do these.
I think
history episodes.
I think it'd be good to hear from everybody too, from you guys. Do you have a brand that you would like us to talk about?
Oh yeah,
see, you know, because like we've ridden bikes. I haven't ridden. No, I've ridden a Ducati. I've ridden Ducatis. We've ridden Ducatis, BMWs, Triumphs, Hondas.
Hondas.
I have not ridden a Yamaha yet, or a Cowie.
Have I ridden a Cowie? I have ridden a Cowie, a Versus 300.
Okay,
their little baby ADV bike. And I have ridden a Royal Enfield Himalayan once. Harleys. I think our Harleys are our next big one that we're going to try.
We've really beaten that dead horse with a stick about the Harley jokes, but we want to try one.
That's like number one priority for when riding season kicks back in springtime is to find out either someone who has a Harley that will let us ride it, or B, go to a dealership, see if they have a demo day or something like that, or just kind of talk to them like, hey, no, we have this podcast. Well, I don't know if our shout out's worth that much, but we'll give you a shout out. We just want to like demo Harley because we've never ridden one.
Yeah.
I think it's about time that we actually
I agree.
Ride a Harley to see what all the hype is about.
Yeah. I'm just following like the.
Oh, we've also ridden Indians.
We have ridden Indians,
which are nice. Very nice.
Those
bikes.
Very nice.
I really love their V twin.
Mm-hmm. Oof. I did want to quickly throw into just for like a closing for our topic too, like. So I interviewed at Triumph America back in 2021. Mm-hmm. They flew me out to Georgia for an interview. I was at the American headquarters, and I got to meet a few people there and talk to them. And they really do have like that culture, that company culture that really backs into like what they're doing. It's like we have
that's really
we
awesome.
have our ways of doing things. Like we make some like name heavy bikes, you know. And so like in terms of like my personal anecdote, just going to see there, like, they're taking it, they mean business in the business.
That's pretty awesome to hear.
Yeah. So it was really cool. Everyone was awesome there. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you like this little lesson in the history of, one of the iconic motorcycle brands that are around the world.
Yeah.
We love Triumphs. We love We ride Triumphs.
We just love motorcycles.
We do love any motorcycle, really. We're just a little biased for Triumphs because we own them.
They're our spoiled child.
Yeah, and it was really cool, like just doing the research for this episode to kind of learning about the history. And for me, I think, like I mentioned, the most fascinating thing was about like how the different names like carried over to even like the modern day bikes, and how it was like small iterations led to like big advancements in different technologies and stuff like that.
Well, and even like
too.
the problems that they faced, like they grew from them.
Yeah, they grew from them. I mean, going from bankruptcy to basically like this like world-renowned motorcycling brand and company is pretty awesome. And
they were
very glad they survived that.
Yeah, it was like they already were like well-renowned.
Yeah.
And then like just with how things were going, and it wasn't just Triumph that faced those challenges back in the 70s. Like the Japanese market really did make waves.
In
the Western.
It was the same thing with cars too.
Yeah.
Like 1970, the gas crisis hit. Americans started buying moving away from the giant big block V8 like boats,
steel blocks.
Yeah, steel blocks to smaller, compact Japanese cars. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So but like they were able to come back from it and just evolve. So
yeah. Anyways,
that's all I had.
That's it.
I will say once again, guys, if you feel the need or if you'd like to, we would definitely appreciate if you were to do anything like with Buy Me a Coffee to help us grow the show. Give us more resources to make more episodes and new episodes. We're not going anywhere, but it's just if you feel that way.
Yep.
And same with our Revzilla link. So I really enjoy what we're doing.
Oh yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talk about motorcycles as it is, so we might as well record ourselves talking about.
Well, and that's really what we started. It was like, man, we talk about motorcycles like nonstop. Like,
let's just we might as well just record ourselves and talk about it.
Let's just sit in front of a mic and see what happens.
Exactly.
But
anyways,
thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.